The next video is a webinar that we did on salespeople. So the two things that we're going to go over on this webinar are the salesperson analysis report and the salesperson summary report. The first one we're going to talk about is the salesperson analysis report. So to get to that, you're going to click on reporting, salespeople, and salesperson analysis. This will bring you into the salesperson analysis report. So you have your report name. You can name this report and select the parameters and save this if you wanted to bring this up again. Otherwise, you can just leave the report name blank. The output method, the default is PDF. That's just to look at it in a report format. You can also export that into Excel or a CSV. There's 3 tabs to this report: report options, report criteria, and accessories. We're going to start with report options. So the first section is, what is the first period you would like to analyze? So you can click on the drop down and choose that sales period that you want to look at. I'm just going to choose previous month on this. You can also choose additional periods. So you'll see how there is the second period if you want to do that. Otherwise, you can just leave it at none. There's the what is the third period if you want to analyze something there, and then there's also a fourth period. So you can analyze up to 4 different periods. So maybe you were doing like week to date, month to date, season to date, year to date, those types of things where you can see that all on one report. The next part is which sales do you want to include. The default is all sales. Or if you just wanted to look at special orders or layaways, you could choose one of those. The next part is, how do you want to count tickets? We have 2 different options here. There's the simple ticket count, which is the default, which is a count of all tickets for the salesperson, regardless of transaction type or summed quantity. The second option is calculated ticket count. So that's the sum of all line item quantities on a ticket for transactions on included sales. And then it gives you an example of how that looks at that. So maybe you had like a regular sale and a return where it ended up being an even exchange, where the quantity equals 0, so the ticket counts as 0. So that would be an example of that. And then you have what fields you want to include. Some people want to look at profit on the report, some people do not. So if you want that checked, you'll check on profit. What users would you like to include? So if you have disabled users or deleted users, you have the option of either looking at them or not looking at them on the report. Because if you go through salespeople where they no longer work for you, maybe you don't want all of those salespeople listing out on the report. So this will help you in that area. And then there's how would you like to treat your stores, whether it's separate stores or combined stores. If you have single stores, you're always going to do separate. Even if you have multiple stores, you can do separate stores and it'll list store 1 out first, then store 2, store 3, etc. Or if you want to combine stores, it'll put all your stores together on the report. The next part of the report is report criteria. So if you have certain stores, you can put store numbers in. If you want to do all your stores, you can leave that blank. You can do it by salespeople. So if you just want to look at one salesperson or a few salespeople, you can select them. You can also exclude criteria just by clicking on the EXC checkbox, and that will exclude your selection. And then the last tab is the accessories tab. So if you want to also look at your accessories and how each salesperson has sold in that area, you can choose what classes your accessories are. In this example, I could click on all of accessories and then click OK. And you could also exclude this as well. When you are ready to run this report, if you've saved this, you've named the report and you save it, and you want to be able to bring this up in the future without having to remember everything that you selected, you can click on Save Report, and then somewhere down the line, whenever you come into this report, you can click on the magnifying glass icon and select that saved report and run it. If not, you can just click on Add Job and Run. This will bring you to the report history, so you can go ahead and select that report. We can open it up, and that will bring the salesperson analysis report up on the screen. So here I'm looking at store 1. I'm looking at this particular salesperson. Shows the date range that I'm looking at, that salesperson, the total hours, their total sales hours. If you use the time clock or you enter your hours, you can tell that information on this report. You'll see the total sales, the profit, commission. If you do any perks for SKUs that employee has sold, that'll keep track of that for you on this report. You'll see the sales per hour. Again, if you use the time clock, you'll be able to get that information. Or if you manually enter just a bulk amount of hours, you can still get the sales per hour. Profit per hour, that person's total tickets in that period that we're looking at. Their average sale, their number of multiple sales that they've done, what the average multiple sale is, the average item per ticket, so these are their average items that they sell per ticket, and then their percentage of multiple sales. And if we chose the accessories to look at, that would show your percentage of accessory sales. So that'll list each employee individually, and then you'll also have a total at the end for that store. So you can see totals as a store as well. We could use the search up at the top to search for certain individuals. You could print that out with the printer icon. You could email this to somebody. You could save this somewhere on your hard drive. You can scroll through this report using the scroll bars, or at the bottom of the page you can go through a page at a time. You can go back and forth. You can go to the last page, or you can go to the first page. And when you're done, you can just exit out of that report. If we wanted to do this report in Excel, all we'd have to do is click on this Edit Criteria. That would bring the report back up on the screen, and all we would have to do is simply change the output method to Excel and add job and run. And that would run that same report, but give us the ability to pull that up in Excel. And then we could resort it, manipulate it how we want, etc. And you'll see the file type, it changes it to the Excel file type. And then you can just open that up, and you have that same report in Excel. And there you have it. Here you see the point of sale screen. So if you want to track how your salespeople are doing, you see when you go to the ticket header, this is the cashier. This is strictly who just rings up the sale. This is not the salesperson. When you go to ticket detail and you ring up your items, this down here where it says salesperson is the salesperson that sold this item. So if the salesperson is different from the cashier, you want to make sure that you change this to the correct salesperson. That way that salesperson, you'll see down here, will get credit for that item, whether it's a sale or whether it's a return. So very important, the difference between cashier, who rings up the sale, and the actual salesperson. And you can have multiple salespeople on one ticket. So I could have this one, and I could ring up another item and just simply change it to a different salesperson. And whatever's listed up here, that salesperson will get credit for that. And of course, setting up your salespeople is always done under Setup and Users and Manage Users, where we can set up each individual salesperson and what their cashier code is. And there's a separate video on how to set up users if you're interested in that.